following program is an exclusive Disruption Networks production.
Hey, it's Adeline Van Dyke from Coldwell Banker Faith Properties in Utica. I always get asked, why do I love real estate? It's very simple. I love my clients. I love every single thing about helping them find or sell their home. Making sure the home is solid and ready for sale, or solid and ready for the buyer's inspection, to making sure that they're getting the best rate on their mortgage, making sure they're getting the best price on their house. You know, just everything involved in the sale is vital. My absolute favorite part of real estate is when a buyer walks into the house they're going to buy. I can feel it before they even know they're loving the house. It's just that obvious. So I'd love to experience that feeling with you. So give me a call. Adeline Van Dyke, Coldwell Banker Faith Properties, 315-404-6431. Or you can find me on Facebook or visit my website at centralnewyork.com/Adeline. Thank you, and I look forward to welcoming you home.
When it's your hard-earned money on the line that you are investing into a home, it makes sense to choose a proven professional to assist you in making one of the biggest investments you may ever make. Josh's dedication of over 20 years to the home construction industry allows him to bring knowledge and experience to your doorstep. That means you can feel confident and comfortable with his service to you. Past clients love his attention to detail and thorough written reports. By allowing Priceless Inspections to help you make a well-informed decision concerning your property, you will find that a quality inspection is priceless. Follow Priceless Inspections on Facebook or call 315-525-8725. In the Mohawk Valley, for the best real estate service, you gotta have faith. Caldwell Banker Faith Properties, 315-735-2222 or www.centralnyhomes.com.
YOLO, infidels, that's right. It's Hacker Hameen.
This is Al Schneer from the band Mo.
Hey, this is Corey Glover from Living Color.
And you're listening to EC Radio.
And you're listening to EC Radio.
Live on EC Radio with the Z-Man. So take the pizza out of your fat moron mouse. Sit back and listen before I give you a $5 face slap. You'll never forget, infidels. YOLO.
Welcome to EC Radio Podcast. We would like to thank all of our sponsors for joining the Disruption team, and we hope that you will support all of our sponsors. And of course, we appreciate you listening to this program.
EC Radio, Disruption Networks. EC Radio, Disruption Networks.
Yeah, baby. It would help if I was on the right thing, chicken. I just switched over to back talk.
Uh-oh.
How did that happen? Oh, no, we're not Tommy Drama.
Tommy's coming back. Uh-oh.
I got to turn myself up a little bit here. Hang on one second.
See, I'm not
it's EC Radio. Technical difficulties, as always, on this program, but we're dealing with some new equipment. So big ups to Todd for switching shit on us. No, actually, Todd, I love you, and everything that you've done around here is absolutely amazing. I'm just an idiot, and I don't know how to put it together.
Well,
I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
It's like every time I go back on air for the D-line, it's like something new is occurring, and I'm like, how do I do this?
How does this happen? So it's Z and Chicken. We're here. It's Tuesday. You can check us out on the World Wide Web at www.disruptionnetwork.net. The all-new website. Check us out. Chicken, I got to make a huge announcement today.
Yes, sir.
And I made it on Back Talk today, but I was checking out the numbers. We're fucking huge in Japan, bro.
Japan, really?
I swear. Wait till I show you the numbers.
So we're like
We've got over hundreds
of
downloads from Japan. From Japan, dude.
It's awesome.
It's unbelievable.
What do we know in Japan?
I don't know anybody in Japan. I don't know. But to all my Japanese listeners, I would like to say, moshi moshi, konnichiwa. Yeah.
And we just lost them all.
No, we just. What do you mean? I just told them hello, and see, I just told them hello. Joining us in the studio today, Chicken, we have a very handsome guest. That is.
Oh, besides me?
Besides you.
Oh, okay.
You know, I like to refer to him as like the Saul Goodman of Utica.
Saul Goodman, nice.
Our buddy Nick Passalacqua in the house. For legal help quick, you better call Nick, 315-500-NICK. NICK. It's that easy. If you need legal help, use that phone number. For legal help,
You
quick,
got it.
you better call Nick. we got to get some women to
Get a
sing
jingle?
that.
Get
Yeah,
a little jingle?
I think that would be great, man. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you, man.
Yeah, same here.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got our big St. Patty's Day party happening this Saturday out at O'Donnell's on Varick Street, 700. What's it? 715 Varick Street. 715 Varick Street. I'm so used to saying 700.
Yeah, I know, right?
715 Varick Street, O'Donnell's. Nick is our big sponsor over there. We're going to be spreading the word of Nick at O'Donnell's this Saturday for St. Patrick's Day. So, Nick, I want to thanks for coming back on board and,
Yeah, for sure.
and joining us. It's going to be a good time. You're going to come join us, have a couple pops, right?
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, should be able to make it down there. We'll see.
Cool, man. I do want to talk about how's your daughter doing? How's Leah?
She's doing really well.
Yeah, she is?
She's doing good. Yeah, thank you.
Um,
Yeah, we were last Monday she had her last scan, so looks like the liver mass shrunk a little bit more, and the liver itself is looking more normal, and all her blood work is in normal ranges. So, yeah, she's all smiles too. So,
Yeah.
You get a bell on that one.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
You guys had some struggles in the last. How old? She's a year, right?
no, she went in when she was 7 weeks old.
Wow.
Yeah, so she is about 5.5 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, she's been through a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all
Yeah,
smiles and
for
not
sure.
even an acknowledgement of what's going on with her.
No,
huh?
no clue, which is probably for the better.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
So,
So good. I mean, those prayers work, man.
absolutely.
They
It's
do.
been great. Yeah, the outpouring from the community has been unreal, from day one. So, it's been great.
Yeah.
That's one thing we got to say about the community we're in. All the haters out there, whatever. But when the times are tough and people need help, they step up in this area. They give, they donate. It's one thing I've always noticed in this area that people really do step up.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of great activities out there that for like the Heart Run and Walk and the Boilermaker, the community definitely supports.
Yes.
So it's good to see. And you guys did some fundraising, right, for your daughter?
Yeah, my sister set up a GoFundMe page, which again, the turnout on that and the donations through that was just incredible. And there's been a bunch of other foundations that have reached out when we were in the hospital and such that have donated bags and all sorts of stuff. And people have reached out, giving us gift cards for food and for toys for the kids, and it's been crazy.
Excellent. Good. It's important to live in a community that
Right.
supports like this, and Utica is definitely that city, and comes through, and it's amazing. So, Nick, we got here. We want to ask you some legal questions today. Of
Sure,
course.
man.
When legal
what I'm here
questions,
for.
you better call Nick, right? Type of thing. And also, if anybody has any questions, any legal advice you'd like to have Nick answer for you, you can leave a comment on the Facebook page. We are live on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, Streamy. We're available all over the place. So tons of platforms you can check us out on EC Radio and Disruption Network.
And DisruptionNetwork.net.
And DisruptionNetwork.net. Very good, Chicken. Thank you. Thank you. Sometimes I need him to back me up a little bit. Did you see the car flipped over in the toll booth the other day
No.
in Vernon?
No.
No, you didn't see that. Now,
didn't.
did you?
I did not know.
Okay, exit 33 in
Right.
Vernon. There was a car that flipped. I got to dig up I just wrote it down. I was kind of hoping you guys were with me on this. Exit 33, there was a car flipped over, blocking the whole entrance going into the thruway booth.
How do you manage that?
Well, the report came out today. He was found under the influence of marijuana.
What?
That's what the papers are making it out. Oh, he was high, so that's why he flipped his car. Well, he wasn't paying attention, and somehow he flipped it up. I would love to see this video, actually.
There's got to be a video.
Has to be, right?
Unless he's
At the
like
thruway
actively smoking a
booth?
bowl while he's driving and just like using both hands to like.
But even so, like the speed you'd have to
Right.
to roll it
And everybody knows
Right.
that, like,
would be pretty.
everybody knows when you're stoned and you're driving, you're going like 20.
It's crazy.
You never hear people getting pulled over for speeding when they're stoned.
But you're right, Nick, because you're going through the toll booth. You're slowing down. You have to go slow through the
Right.
toll booth. So how did you flip it slowing down? So Syracuse.com was reporting that he was under the influence of weed. That was the cause.
Just like that kid when he shot the baby was because he was under the influence of marijuana. Like, it's such
The
bullshit.
one in Rome,
Yeah.
I actually arraigned that case.
Oh,
You did.
So we can't talk about it.
No, I can talk about it. It's over with now. I didn't do anything else with it. I mean, I met the kid when he was in when he was locked up the next morning or whatever it was, because I was doing first appearance arraignments at that point in Rome. Yeah, what a tragedy that was.
Oh my God! And how old was the kid? It was an infant.
Oh, like months, like 9 months old, something like that. 10 months old. Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah, the story was that the kid was like cleaning his gun on his lap or something, or changing putting a pistol grip on his rifle or something, or a shotgun
in the kitchen with a baby there.
Like it was like in his living room, and his girlfriend was sitting next to him, and the baby was like in a seat, like in front of her, and he moved or like rolled on top of the gun or something, and it went off or whatever, and the baby was just like literally feet away, right there.
Did the kid have priors?
No, he
He
was
had no
young.
pri- he was
He
young,
was
right?
young. He was
18,
like
19, right?
Yeah, he was like 19 or 20 or
It
something
was
like
his
that.
girlfriend's kid, right? It wasn't his, right?
No, it was his.
Oh, was
Yeah,
it?
it was his and her kid. I'm pretty sure.
I thought it wasn't his.
Yeah, if my recollection serves me, I think that was But that was terrible.
Bad.
Yeah.
Todd just dug up a picture of the car. Oh, you clicked it off. Damn it. I'll show you. But, yeah, man, that sucks. And now, how much time did he end up doing for this? I mean,
I don't know,
Yeah.
to be honest with you. I just did the arraignment.
Okay.
But I'm sure he, depending on how they handled it, he could have done as little as 6 months if they did what's called a max split.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So, like a max split would be if it's an indeterminate sentence that's allowed on the felony charge, then it would be allowed to do 6 months in jail, and then 4.5 years felony probation. So I don't know that that's what he did, but that he could have done. I mean, technically speaking, he could have done no jail and just done 5 years probation. I don't know that that's the case.
Was he
but
charged with
that's-
like an accidental killing? Like how?
Yeah, it was. I forget the exact charge, but it was manslaughter, I believe.
Oof.
Yeah.
unbelievable. There's been a lot of high-profile cases too. I feel like there's been a lot of like serial killers. Like I mean, in the '70s, you had like the Potato Hill Killer, Bernard Hatch, who keeps trying to come up for parole every year, right? And he just gets denied.
Yeah.
You got any? You know anything about that one?
No, I mean, but parole is one of those things. It is, and it isn't, kind of like they portrayed in the movies. I mean, it's like if they don't want you out, it's rubber stamped. You're done. So,
Right.
Thanks for the interview.
And it seems like somebody like that, like Charles Manson, that kept coming up, and you just, no. And it seems like as long as you've been in there so long that you get worse in prison almost.
Yeah, and especially with the high profile stuff, because then as soon as he comes out, if he gets parole, that's another headline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then that parole board becomes under scrutiny as to whether or not it was appropriate or whatever. They keep stamping him as unimproved, keeping him in. Nobody bats an eye.
Right.
Nobody
bats an eye at all. That's ridiculous. And then you have like some unsolved murders, like the Kim Simon murder.
Mm-hmm.
That's been unsolved since what, the 80s? I think it was 1985 or something like that.
Right.
Like that was kind of high profile.
With a wrongful conviction.
Wrongful conviction as well too.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Now, how does it go back? Like there was this DNA law that came into effect, right?
Well, it was just kind of the evolution of DNA evidence.
Is that what it was?
And and its acceptance as viable, trustworthy evidence in criminal cases to either identify an individual or rule someone out.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, they started reopening the Innocence Project. Started reopening some of these cases that had bodily fluids, but they couldn't really, the science wasn't as advanced as it is now or has become, and it wasn't really used as evidence to identify the person that was ultimately convicted. But they keep the stuff in, evidence, and they have it, or they have at least the records of whatever it was, and so they can reopen these cases, retest the stuff against now the person who's incarcerated, and either get that was right, that was him, or no, this is 100% certain it could not have been this person.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see a lot of it was with like rape and murder cases, because they would have like a semen sample or a hair, sample that was found at the scene or what have you that could be tested, and that's how a lot of this stuff has come up, and then it just grew from there once the Innocence Project kind of got its notoriety with the documentary that came out originally with it, and people could write in and they'd take cases all over the country.
Now, have you heard the case with the old boxer, the Hurricane? Bob Dylan wrote a song about it.
Yep.
And I watched the movie. It sounds almost like the same thing. Like once the DNA was, the technology was there for the DNA, that's when they ended up realizing that he was innocent.
Right.
He spent all those years in prison.
Yep.
Todd just put up a picture of the car flipping upside down. Did you see that? Todd, can you switch that over really quick when you get a chance? It's remarkable. You got to see this picture. It's unbelievable. If I can just.
I remember a couple years ago there was a girl that flipped her. She had her parents' car and she flipped her Beamer over a truck at the mall. She floored it and landed on top of another vehicle in the mall parking lot. I'm like, how on earth do you do that?
There it is,
but
right
that's
there.
the thing
There's
is you
the
got to
picture.
have a decent amount of force to flip the car.
Is that crazy or what?
Wow.
That's through a toll booth. So you're slowing down to go through that toll booth to pay the toll, right? How do you get it like that?
They had to have hit that barricade or the divider there and rolled it over.
It had to have hit it at a high speed, though. No, to flip it like that on its
for
roof.
sure. Even to hit the divider there, you still had to have enough speed to get the car up onto it to roll it over.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I don't get it either. But luckily, nobody was hurt. I don't think the driver was hurt. He had minor injury or whatever.
Jeez.
But unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm going to say bullshit on the marijuana cause.
Right?
I mean, I don't see how that plays an effect here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is absolutely nuts. But let's talk about the marijuana laws. Now that weed is somewhat legal for, well, actually I can't really say medicinal, but it's not really up here in this area. We don't really have it comes in oils or edibles, right? It's pretty much how it comes. And eventually, I think flour will get into effect, right?
Yeah, I don't think so.
But okay, chicken smokes a lot of weed. And
me.
So
you never touch the stuff, right?
Nah, once or twice. Anyways, my question is, and I'm trying to switch it. Okay, I gotta switch the camera angle. My question is, now that it's medical, are legal aspects, are they looking a blind eye to it now for possessing, or are they still just gonna jump on you for?
Yeah, they still will. I mean, it's technically quote unquote decriminalized in New York.
Okay, gotcha.
So you have anything up to 25 grams, it's a violation. It's not a crime.
So it's like a fine.
So yeah, it's called the UPM, an unlawful possession of marijuana, and you'll get smacked with a fine. First offense, you can't even get jail time. Second offense, you can. And the fines go up. But obviously, the misdemeanor, depending on the volume you have, the weight, it's going to be either there's still misdemeanor felonies, marijuana possession, criminal possession of marijuana in New York. They're not turning a blind eye to that.
As in weight.
Yeah.
Type
Oh
thing,
yeah. Based on the weight of it, pounds
or federal type of thing with shipping through the mail.
Well, yeah, that stuff you're going to get pinched federally,
Right.
For sure. Yeah, you're going to be in federal court, or you're going to be charged federally with that. But you don't see it. I mean, the courts, even the DAs, I mean, they're not really trying to hit you hard with even the violation. Not that they can, but there's programs now that there's a company I think they're out of Arizona, but we use them here. Oneida County District Attorney's Office uses it, and you pay $75, I believe it is. You do this online course, marijuana diversion program, they call it, and you provide your certificate that you've completed this, hour-long PowerPoint, and they dismiss it. So they are doing that. They're implementing that, and this company in Arizona has probably counties all over the country just probably making a boatload of money just running this PowerPoint on repeat every day. But, so yeah, I mean, in that regard, they're not just, having a hard and fast rule like, oh, you have UPM, definitely max fine and every. They're not doing that.
Unless you're doing something wrong, though, right? It would be like an
if you had
added bonus,
or if you had in multiple
added
bags,
charge rather. Huh?
If you have multiple bags, so it looks like you're
dealing.
Yeah.
But again, it's still about the weight. It's
Oh, really?
25 grams or less is still a
It doesn't
unlawful
matter if it's
possession of
individually
marijuana.
packaged or not.
Not, I mean, there's the intent to sell can come into play with it, but more times than not, you see that with, like cocaine charges, heroin charges, because there's still a weight aspect in terms of the degree or severity of the charge there. But if you have it packaged in a certain way, they can just say, you'll just couch it under the subsection that says intent to sell. And then they'll just, their argument is that, well, the totality of the circumstances was that you intend to sell it. We also found a scale, and we found that the bagging materials, even though it wasn't all broken up, even though it was less than 500 milligrams or whatever, so that can come into play with more so with the narcotic charges.
So you do a lot with DWI, and being with this story with this kid flipping the car in the what kind of testing do they do for to prove somebody was under the influence of marijuana?
So there's a subsection of the vehicle and traffic law. You have the DWIs. Okay, you got common law DWI, which it just says based on officer observation. You don't need a BAC or anything. So if you refuse to blow, right, they'll charge you with 1192.3. It's called common law DWI, based on officer observations. Okay, they have 1192.2, which is over 0.08, right, 0.08 to 0.17. Then they have 1192.4, which is your ability to drive is impaired by drugs or alcohol to any extent. Okay, if they charge you with that, or 1192, they call it DWI drugs. Okay, they technically have to have what's called the drug recognition evaluator come out and do a different series of basically sobriety tests. And they have a separate form that they have to fill out, and they have to indicate what clues they had or what indications that they noticed. And in order to be charged with that, technically speaking, they're supposed to narrow it down to say, not only do we believe you're under the influence of drugs, but we believe it was this type of drug and this drug specifically. They can't say, oh, we think you were under the influence of a narcotic. They have to say, we believe you under the influence of a narcotic, and we believe that narcotic was cocaine, and here's why. I've handled a number of those, even recently. Within the last 6 months, my firm has had probably 4 or 5 just DWI drug cases. And I think we've gotten every one of them dismissed, because oftentimes they don't even perform the drug recognition evaluation.
You actually have to bring an expert in or something to come in.
Yeah,
and
the
do
police
test?
try to have them
The cops
call
can't do
the
it
drug
themselves?
recognition expert.
Okay.
Judge Balzano, when he was sitting on the bench in felony DWI court, declared that there's no such thing as a drug recognition expert. They're drug recognition evaluators. They've got training and whatever such that they can evaluate whether or not they believe you are under the influence of a drug. But all the cases we've seen where they're charged with that, a lot of times, like I said, we've had probably 4 or 5 in the last 6 months. They don't even have the DRE paperwork, let alone have they performed an actual evaluation on that, and the charge can't stand.
Okay. The amount of drugs I've done in my lifetime, I could be an expert. No evaluation here.
No evaluation.
None whatsoever. Nick Passalacqua joining us. We do have a comment out there. John Caprero wants to know, Nick, is there a statute of limitation on a surgery for a knee? He had an accident back in 2012 and canceled surgery a few times. I guess that all depends if they canceled it or he canceled it, right?
Well, I guess if it's, let me put it this way. If you had a surgery that was botched, you believe that there was some sort of malpractice or, medical malpractice. Standard statute of limitation on med mal is 2.5 years. So you got 2.5 years from either the date of the injury or the date that you became aware of the injury. What I mean by that is, so they botched the surgery and you realize it, and they got to go in and carve you up a couple more times, and now you've got lasting injuries or have to have some sort of treatment or what have you. It's 2.5 years from the date of the surgery. If you get opened up for surgery, let's say in your abdomen, they stitch you up and they leave a sponge in there, okay, or some other medical.
Which happens.
There's cases up
as
and down.
funny
all
as it
about
sounds, it really does freaking happen.
So from that, it would be 2.5 years from the date you realized that the sponge was in you and when you had it removed. So the statute would be told until you noticed it. You know what I mean? They don't say, well, 2.5 years has passed. Sorry,
You got to keep the sponge.
Yeah,
They probably charge you for the sponge.
Yeah, so it'll toll with a situation like that, or if there's ongoing treatment. If it's like a misdiagnosis and you're continually having treatment as a result of the misdiagnosis or as a result of the botched procedure, the clock will run from the date of your last treatment.
Gotcha. He's saying no surgery, just canceled.
No, I mean,
So-
you should be able to have, unless it was an issue where.
It's like a workers' comp case or something.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
that?
it depends on the cause of the injury to the knee. I
And
mean,
did
if
he
it's
set-
like this, your own injury, I mean, that's just a healthcare issue.
And did he settle the case already? I mean,
Right, that's the question. That's why if it was a result of an injury and you were in a car accident or slip and fall or whatever, and you settled the case, I mean, it should come out of no fault anyways. If you haven't hit your cap of $50,000 with no fault, or it would have been part of your settlement if you settled the claim.
Right on, brother. Yo, if anybody else has more questions, please leave a comment right here on Facebook, and we will get to it. We'll have Nick answer your question, whatever you have. There's a couple other high-profile cases I wanted to mention in Utica. The Bumbelow case, the Paul Bumbelow.
Yeah.
Like that kid was a lunatic, and here you got a kid who was released from the mental hospital the night before,
Right,
and ended up
right.
coming home to kill his family, and not only kill him, but like he severed heads, right? Is that correct? And,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
wrote on the walls with blood and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like,
it's tough.
Isn't that negligence against the hospital?
I mean, in my opinion, I think there's an argument for it. It's just tough with civil confinements for psych stuff like that.
well, see,
You
like
know?
that happened too with the guy that out in Herkimer that shut up the barbershop.
Which actually today is the 5-year anniversary of that.
I seen it come up. in
Kirk Myers.
No kidding.
Yeah, today's the 5-year anniversary of that.
He was released from the psych ward as well that night, and then went and did all that stuff as well. So 2 instances where people were released from the psych ward and then went on to create, do murders. It's just but
It's tough. Yeah, for sure.
Did you have any involvement with any of that?
No, I wasn't involved in that case. I mean, I've paid some attention to it, but
it's probably one you want to stay away from.
it's tough, man. Some of those cases, I mean, it's tough because, it's a tragedy what happened, and it should never have happened. But again, the institutions here and the psych wards around here, they still have to follow their own policy and procedures and the laws that govern whether or not they feel they can hold somebody, involuntarily or otherwise, and a lot of times, unfortunately, they don't want to deal with it. If they feel like they can release somebody, they're going to release them, so.
Don't you feel there's a big mental health problem going on in the world today?
Sure there is. Of course.
Or just this country alone, never mind the world.
Yeah.
Just the U.S.
Sure.
And all these mental hospitals and facilities that close, I mean, you're releasing out. It happened here locally. How many times has it happened here? I mean, look at the
Old
Main, and then the Hunter House, and
Right.
which is now the DoubleTree, and like it's happened many, many times. So
Sure.
I don't know. We need to get a grip on the mental health aspect in this country.
Well, and that's it. I mean, like we just stated 2 cases where people were being evaluated and then released and then go on and commit murders. Like something tells me that like there's a flaw in the system there. You know what I mean? Like maybe their evaluations aren't good. You know what I mean? Maybe they need to take better steps at trying to evaluate these people. I mean, because as soon as you get released and you go out and you just start slaughtering people, I mean, there's obviously a definite disconnect.
And some of it, I think, is got to be dealt with within the mental health system too. It's not just that it's not addressed. I think it's even with instances when it is brought up, there's shortcomings within the system. I've had cases where I've sent my client. We requested what they call a 730 exam for a mental health exam to see if they're fit to stand trial, if they understand what they did, they understand what they're facing. If they're able to aid in the defense, meaning, talk with their attorney about what's happening, about what happened, about, preparing a defense to a case. And I've had a number of times. I had one client come to mind. He was charged with petty larceny for stealing like a T-shirt from Walmart in North Utica. He came in. I spoke with his sister. He was 34 years old, I think, and he had the mental capacity of, I believe, a 5-year-old. So we sent him out for a 730 exam. The 2 people that evaluated him said, yep, he's fit to stand trial. But the judge talked to him. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know who the judge was. He didn't know. He asked him who I was. He said, a good guy. I mean, it was terrible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, we got the case dismissed, but why are they not saying no? He has no idea that what he did was wrong. He was with his 2 nephews, like 14, 15 years old, and they thought it would be funny if, Uncle so-and-so stole a shirt. So they told him it was a game, and he just held the shirt and walked out. He had no criminal intent, to steal anything. It's terrible.
Well, back to the Bumble thing is like, okay, so now he got released from the psych ward, and then I heard he was trying to plead in like an insanity plea. How, now you got two contradictions, because now if they say he's insane and he's getting, the insanity plea, and they released him from the psych ward, somebody's got to be held responsible.
Well, no, it goes back to that 7:30. They'll send him out for new evaluations, right? So they'll have, the state will do, the courts will set up the 7:30 exam where he gets evaluated by two psychologists or psychiatrists, and they'll have their report. Like in my case, they'll both, either one will say that he's fit, one will say he's not. They'll both say he's not. They both say he is, and either the defense attorney or the DA can object, to that finding, right? So if the state 7:30 exam comes back and says, yeah, he's fit, he's not insane, the defense attorney could say, yeah, I object to that, and they can have a hearing on it. But what that would entail is the defense would have to get their own private, psychologist or psychiatrist to evaluate them, come in and give expert testimony to the contrary of the state report, saying he's not fit, and here's why, and here's my qualifications and expertise, and why you should believe me versus these, the state evaluators. Same thing can happen if they say he's not fit. The DA can say, well, we object. Well, now the DA's got to arrange for another eval, and then you have a hearing where they put on their proofs as to why, the judge should believe that person versus the report that he or she has in front of him. So
It was a horrible tragedy. Michael Clare's checking in. He said he caused permanent damage to the roof of his mouth, and he's speech impaired from eating a hot slice of pizza. There was no warning as to how hot the slice was. I have extreme pain and mental trauma from the hot mozzarella. Can I sue for damages?
Mike's my cousin.
Can you sue for damages?
It goes on the McDonald's coffee thing, right?
I think he assumed the risk. He saw the piping hot pizza. He assumed the risk of taking a bite before it cooled down.
You should have blew on it a little bit first before you put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, though, that hot cheese, man, you get it right out of the oven, it will burn your mouth.
Oh, absolutely. But there was, like you said, the McDonald's coffee case.
Yeah, there's a lot more to that story than anybody knows.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And McDonald's coffee is super freaking
There was
hot.
a good documentary on that, though, that was on Netflix.
Super freaking horrible, too, but go ahead.
Yeah, there was a documentary on Netflix on it that was actually very informative. We read that case in law school, too.
Did you?
Yeah, but the problem with McDonald's was that they had a track record of complaints from people that had spilled it on themselves and had gotten burns. Not as severe as this woman's, but there was all these complaints. There was a track record of them. They kept the records of all the complaints. And so when this one happened, it was the most severe burns that had occurred. But when they sued it, they, during the discovery process, got all these records that they had all of these complaints and never changed their cups, their labeling, the temperature of their coffee or anything. So that's really what happened. It was the jury was mad that they had been on notice of, the shitty quality of their cups and carriers or whatever, the extreme heat of the coffee and the combination was causing burns and what have you, and they never did anything about it. And then she got, whatever the big judgment was, but then it got crammed down. So I think she only ended up with a few $100,000 at the end of the day.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Throw coffee on my
Everybody
jumper.
thinks she got like $10 million. I mean, it was crammed down like under $1 million.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you sue for, well, I know you could sue a restaurant for maybe food poisoning or whatever like that, but for heat or any of that, like burning the roof of your mouth?
I mean, you can sue anybody for anything. Whether it would
Okay.
go anywhere is the real question. I mean, and that's, again, it's kind of tough. It all depends. I mean, because otherwise you'd have people ordering fajitas and just sticking their hand on the hot plate every time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a matter of whether it was reasonable and if there was some standard of care that they owed to you as the patron, and if they deviated from that,
Like we were at a Mexican restaurant, a friend of mine, she burned her, tongue and her mouth and her lip on some hot beans or whatever. She's like, I should sue. I'm like, there's signs that says every meal is really hot. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's enough to.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're not going to get anywhere with something like that.
And
even so, even if you sued, they're going to ask, what's the damages? So you burned your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any treatment? Did you have to have surgery? Did you have, did your mouth go permanently numb? or your tongue. So now you have to learn to speak again. You know, things like that are gonna, factor in. If you burned your mouth and you got a blister, they're gonna be like, okay, here's a dollar. Yeah, you won. Here's $1. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is
That's
it worth your
happened.
time?
You know what I mean?
Is it really worth your time?
You see that sometimes. There was a federal case locally. It was actually an inmate suing because they cut off his dreadlocks, and it was I'm a Rastafarian. It's my religious right to have my hair the way I want. And the jury said, you know what, you're right. We agree with you. Here's $1, and they awarded him $1 in Utica, federal jury in Utica, because it was like, what's the damages? Number one, you're already an inmate in federal prison or in state prison, either one, and there was no damages.
And it grows back.
Right, exactly. So they're like, yeah, you're right. They shouldn't have done that. Here's $1. Mm-hmm. So that's the type of thing that, a lot of stuff, could be a lawsuit, but it's a matter of whether there's any money or damages attached to it,
You must get some ridiculous requests.
Every day. Every day.
Give me a good one that you've turned down before.
Oh, man. One of my best ones was I was told that a man was owed $5 million from, and now I forget the woman's name. She's actually like a princess in New York City, and she's also a fashion designer.
Wait, there's princesses in New York City?
She's a princess from a foreign country.
Gotcha.
But she's like a nationally known the clothing designer.
Okay.
And this guy came in and told me that he was owed $5 million from her. It was his money, and I was trying to, do you have a canceled check or something showing you gave him the money? Well, no, it didn't come from me. It came from someone else, but she was supposed to give it to me. I said, well, who'd the money come from? He said, well, you're going to laugh if I tell you. I said, well, I got to know. He says, Oprah Winfrey. I said, why would Oprah be giving you $5 million?
Is he from Chicago?
Well, his story was that she lived next to him.
Is his name Stedman?
In Los Angeles. And she loved his mother's lentil soup.
Oh.
Loved his mother's lentil soup so much. So he called her and said, I want to start some businesses. Can I have some money? And she said, well, I can't just send you $5 million, so I'll send it to my friend, this princess, and she can give it to you. And then the princess just never and the princess, meanwhile, is worth like billions.
Right.
Like, I look these people up. I'm like, yeah, no. And he's like, so I want to go after my money. I'm like, even if there was like a shred of truth to this, she has got a significantly deeper war chest than you and will bankrupt like the entire city of Utica trying to go after her. So no, thank you. We'll pass.
Was this a phone consultation or
No,
face-to-face?
no, this was face-to-face.
Face-to-face.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And they were dead serious.
Oh, dead serious.
And there was
and he called back 3 times wondering if we were going to take the case, if we've considered it.
Well, I got an email saying I got like $3 million sitting for me. Some king in Africa like died, and he's leaving me this money. It's unclaimed.
Unclaimed, yeah.
So I was wondering if I could go and sue and get my money.
Yeah, no, you just go right over there. They'll have it waiting for you. I've heard that they have it with a nice bow on it when you get there.
Oh.
No, but speaking of these scams, though, I mean, obviously a lot of them are pretty obvious that they're scams. But if somebody does fall from, is there any lawsuit or any way that they can go and reclaim that money that they were lost?
No, odds are that whoever you sent it to is gone.
Okay.
And again, it's a collectability issue. You know what I mean? Like, I have people sometimes that'll call, and sometimes they have significant injuries and lasting treatment and it permanent damages, physically or otherwise. But the problem is, let's say it was a homeless person stole a car and wrecked your car, and now you're a paraplegic. Significant lifelong damages. But he doesn't have insurance. He has no assets to collect upon. I mean, if you have insurance and underinsured motorist coverage, you can get paid from that, and your no-fault will cover up to $50,000 of the medical or whatever your policy covers. And if you, like I said, if you have uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage, that'll cover you. But everyone thinks I'm going to sue $1 million. I'm going to sue you for $1 million. Well, sue me for $1 million. You're not going to get it.
Right.
You might get a paper judgment for $1 million, and then no one realizes you have to go collect that. It's not like the court cuts you a check and says, here you go. You have to get it from the person you're suing. So I always love the people that just say, well, I want to sue him for $1 million. You're never going to get it.
What about these telemarketers that just keep like harassing the shit out of people? Is there anything you could do about that?
No. And now they're doing, what is it called? Spoofing?
Yeah.
Spoofing the numbers. It's gotten to the point, like, I get calls almost daily on my phone from
This spoofing isn't illegal.
No.
How is it not illegal?
And how is it not
Even if it is,
harassment?
there's no way to trace it because of the way it's done. But it's gotten to the point where I get calls, on at least weekly basis from a 315 number. Some of the numbers I'm like, wait, I know that number. I think I know that number.
Right.
The other day, this was probably 2 weeks ago, my phone rang, and it was another attorney's cell phone number that I have in my phone. It said, oh, so-and-so. I said, oh, okay. Literally, it was a telemarketer spoofing that number just on a random, like, rolling.
Wow.
And it came up as so-and-so.
How is that not illegal?
Saved in my phone. I said, it was his number.
Isn't it stolen identification?
I mean...
And it should be
Think about it.
And
though.
it should be
Wouldn't
harassment though too. Like
and harassment.
I've told these people to stop calling me millions of times.
Yeah, I mean there could be an argument, but how are you ever going to trace it? According to me, if you trace that call, it goes back to that attorney.
And aren't you supposed to be on a do not call list?
You know what I mean?
Like I've filed for do not call lists several times.
Right, but that's how they're doing it now, getting around all of that.
Even if me too. I'm on a do not call list too, but I still get this freaking
all the time. And
telemarketers.
I miss important calls because
I think they ignore that thing now. It's like,
well, yeah, and then again, because then you could have reported those because you would get the caller ID of the number they're calling from, and you could report them. They had that database. Call it in if you were on the list and you're still getting these calls. Who are you going to report now? Well, you're going to report somebody, and it's not even. You're going to report me because it's my number coming up on your phone, and then.
Well, what about the company that they're calling to supposedly represent? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I suppose, but a lot of times it's hard to even get that information out of these people.
Yeah.
I'm calling you about your current credit card debt. They never hardly tell you who the company is that they're calling on behalf of. So
it sucks because you can't even answer your phone anymore.
No, I miss so many calls. I have to screen all my calls because if it's somebody that I don't know who's calling me, like if it's a different number, I have to let it go to voicemail because otherwise it's these assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if it's an unrecognizable number. But that's bullshit, though, that they can actually get somebody else. Like he said, he had one of his attorney buddies' numbers come over his phone and be like, hey, it's such and such. And you answer it, and you're expecting your buddy, but it's a telemarketer. There's got to be something that you could do about this. No.
Yeah, short of blocking all those numbers, because that's the thing. When they're spoofing the numbers, your phone is going to recognize it as whatever number it's being told to recognize it as.
But, you think in this day and age, I worked for Verizon. They have ways to show where those numbers are initiating out of, and there should be a way that they should do an investigation. I obviously know it's at a higher level, but man, these people are harassing the shit out of a lot of people.
Take it one step further. The problem we're going to start seeing is that because there's sites you can go on, spoofing sites, type in the number you want to call, and type in the number you want it to look like it's calling from or whatever, right? You can do it manually on these websites they have. So imagine that I've got an order of protection checking for you to have no contact with me, right?
Right.
And you're having no contact with me, but you just pissed me off. So I want to message you and get you violated. I'm going to go on one of these spoofing websites and text myself and make it look like it came from your phone number. And now I'm going to go to the police and say, hey, Mr. Officer, he texted me. Look at that. There's his phone number. And they're going to come and arrest you and charge you with a misdemeanor for criminal contempt for violating order of protection. And now you got to dig yourself out of a hole because my phone shows your number.
It's bullshit.
Yep.
And you're going to see this now you're going to see it in criminal cases and family court cases when there's these order of protections and it's going to be a mess because now the defense attorneys and the defendants are going to have to go about getting all these phone records showing there was never a call. Their person's going to get their records showing there was a call. It's going to be a battle.
Now, if they do that and they show it initiated from that person that did it, they spoofed it.
You can't show that. It's going to show from her phone record is going to, let's say it was you and I, this situation. My phone record is going to show a text coming in from your number.
Yeah, but it also, because Verizon or whoever your carrier is would be able to show if it initiated from your phone, from the defendant's phone.
Right. But so then it's a battle. And then if the DA doesn't want to work with you, you're going to go in front of a jury and let them decide.
But
you know what I mean? And by putting in the Verizon records or having someone from Verizon come and testify saying, according to our records, Chicken never sent this text message. Right. And then I'm going to sit there and say, I got this text message from his phone. This is his number.
They can show where that originated out of, though. You know what I mean? Because they can show where your texts come from. It's the higher up through Verizon, but they did it with the whole
right. But now you're out. If it's a misdemeanor, I'm charging you $3,500 at least to come and defend that for no reason because it's been all set up.
But if let's just say hypothetically you could prove that it didn't initiate, like they didn't make that call, can that person be charged?
Oh sure, yeah, you filing a false instrument. Yeah, if they file a false written statement claiming that this was a violation, and they knew it, right? If they knew it wasn't you. If you showed that they spoofed themselves, then yes. If somebody else did it to them to get you in trouble, and and I have no knowledge of where it came from, whether you were, then they would never charge me, unless they could show I knew it was false.
That's so crazy.
That kid from Utica College should have spoofed his phone call that he made for that bomb threat last week.
How do you know somebody didn't spoof him?
That's possible too. But I mean, how dumb you got to be to make a bomb threat to Utica College, and the college actually majors in like cybersecurity. It's like their forte.
Yeah, who knows, man?
That's it.
Yeah.
Smat at you, boy. Smat at you, boy. Smat at you, boy.
Definitely gets a smat at you, boy. It's been a while. It's been a while since we dropped the smat at you, boy chicken.
Yeah, we needed one.
We needed one. Yes. But yeah, how stupid can you be? And what's going to happen with that kid? Don't you think they should make him an example? Like,
sure.
If
I don't know. Like you said though, maybe the defense is going to be that was a homework project. It was a project for class.
Oh yeah, right.
It's bad, but I mean,
wow.
Like it's crazy. But you're right. I mean, and then the fact that he was dumb enough to keep doing it like over a 2-day period. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean,
all this went on for.
They're gonna. I can tell you right now, just from experience in handling criminal defense all over Central New York, especially in Oneida County, they're not going to give him any deals. It's going to have to go to trial unless he's going to just plead guilty.
Especially this day and age where we're seeing school shootings and bombs and terrorism and stuff like that. And like even if this thing was a hoax and was never meant to be a real threat.
Oh yeah, no.
You
Zero
should
tolerance.
still be put in as terrorism.
Yeah, there's not going to be, and because of that, because of the media exposure, and because of the severity of what happened, and the fact that it locked down not only Utica College but other surrounding schools and things for 2 days, there's not going to be any leniency from the DA's office whatsoever. It's going to be plea to the charges, and that's it.
They need to make him an example. They do.
That's going to be what it is. So he's going to have to decide whether he takes a plea or takes that plea, just pleads to what he's charged with, or if he goes to trial. 'Cause that's going to be his two options.
Mm-hmm. I used to think that, and when people engage in looting, and rioting, they should also be charged with, domestic terrorism, and held to a higher charge. Not be so lenient and it's like vandalism or something like that. It should be considered, terrorism.
Right.
I hear you, man. I want to jump subject really quick. Have you seen this OJ thing? OJ had a little special last Sunday.
I didn't get to watch it. I seen little excerpts from it, but
the hypothetical lost interview from 2006. The hypothetical, what if I did it?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. It's always the what if.
Are you serious?
It's like the book. I said we were talking about it before we went on there that he wrote. It's like if I did it, and I did it was like in the matching colors or whatever that he wrote, and then the his wife's or his ex-wife's family took it because of the big judgment they had from the wrongful death, and then they distributed it and sold it, published it to get millions to partially settle what they were owed on that from that judgment.
What if I did it? And then how stupid can you be for him to even do an interview like that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is he could march through the streets and say, I did it.
Mm-hmm.
I did it, and here's how I did it. It's done.
It's done. It's washed.
Done. Double jeopardy. He'll never be charged with it again. So I mean, if that was the case, he could do that, and that would be the end of it. And people would hate him up and down and whatever, but such is the system.
Dave Bandage is checking in. He says, as crazy as the homework story sounds, let us not forget Pete Townsend from the Who claims that he paid for child pornography to prove British banks were complicit in channeling profits from pedophile rings.
the pedophiles, as they like to refer them as in the Who country, the pedophiles, not pedophiles. Pedophiles.
Okay.
There's a lot of that going on, too, in Hollywood and everything. And the Pete Townsend thing was like maybe 12, 13, 14 years ago.
Quite a while.
It was quite a while ago. But now with all the Me Too thing going on around Hollywood and all the sexual harassment, do you get a lot of sexual harassment cases on your desk at all? Or
no, we don't get too much of that. I mean, around here, the worst you're going to get that I've seen is that, wrongful discharge, for some protected class, age discrimination or whatever. But you won't see too much of that.
Mm-hmm.
Careful when you say wrongful discharge.
Yeah, around here, that's got a lot of meetings around here. No, but it is a big thing though that's going on.
Another thing I see a lot happen a lot, and kind of going along with the the Me Too movement, but was the reverse end of that is the false accusations. Like, you get women claiming that a baby is a certain guy's, and it turns out it's not his kid. Now, is there any repercussions? Can he go back and sue that girl for wrongful information, saying that it was his kid?
No, not usually. I've not seen that. I mean, maybe they could. Maybe there's an attorney that would try it. I can't see it. And oftentimes in those cases, unless it's a celebrity or something, I mean, which they might try, what are you going to get again? You know what I mean? You were paying child support at however much a month, that was being used on something. It's not like, if you're talking celebrities and the person was paying the person $10,000 a month, either for the kid or for the person to keep their mouth shut or something. Now you got substantial money that this person's out, and for whatever reason.
Because sometimes you get family members buy gifts for the kid, things
Sure,
like that, and then
sure.
you go to doctor visits, you pay all that money out, and then you find out down the road that it's not even your kid.
Yeah, you're not going to see much from that. No.
Can that person be held, press charges on, if he was?
I mean, again, it would come down to what you could prove that person knew. I mean, if you had substantial evidence that let's say the mother of the child knew for a fact it wasn't this person's kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they knew that person has more money than the actual dad or whatever. And so the actual dad and the mom conspire to claim it was this person's kid because they'll get child support and they'll get more money and they'll get all this. If you could prove that, then maybe you could have like a larceny charge, But again, that's a stretch.
And then you see a lot of fake rape charges come out, like someone saying, guy and girl hook up, guy leaves her, she claims, he raped me. But it was consent when they had sex. You know what I mean? Like
there's a whole bunch of different schools of thought around the different types of rape charges in general. Like even in New York, so you have consent as an issue, right? So a 17-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girlfriend, they could be literally 1 week apart, birthday, but they have sex. When he's 17 and she's 16, he can now be charged with statutory rape.
That's bullshit.
Okay?
That is bullshit.
And I had a case locally. I had the case dismissed, and it was nonsense. And it was, these things happen, and they charge it. But the one thing I have never seen is a 17-year-old girl who slept with her 16-year-old boyfriend be charged. Same law.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Same law.
Double standard.
Law doesn't say when a 17-year-old male sleeps with a 16-year-old female. Law says a 17-year-old sleeps with someone under the age of 17.
Huh. Is it just never charges been pressed, or just?
I've never seen charges brought against a female in that situation.
And you bring up the timeline for them, right? I mean, if the timeline, like you said, it's a week apart from the birthday. I mean, are they?
There's all sorts of stuff that comes up with them. I mean, it's the circumstances always need to be brought up.
And then are they labeled as a sexual?
They can be, yeah,
for life, right?
They can be labeled as a sex offender,
even if
as
it's
a result
week
of
apart
it.
from their next.
I had a
17th
case
birthday.
locally. Guy was at home, kid was at home, minding his own business. It's just terrible. The girl was admitted to being at a party drinking underage, got in a fight with her boyfriend, called this other boy, said, "Hey, I'm coming over." Walks over with her sister. They're hanging out, goes up to his bedroom, and then mysteriously doesn't remember anything that happened, but remembers then leaving. And the next day, her boyfriend found out or whatever, so she starts telling people around school that this kid raped her. So this kid, being a good guy that he was, goes to his counselor or whatever, says, hey, I hear this rumor. I want to just clear the air. That's not what happened. Mandatory reporter has to turn him in. Charged. Like that.
Ah, poor kid.
Was he convicted?
No, we got that dismissed.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
But yeah, they wanted him to plead to the charge.
Did she ever admit it? That she just didn't want it? That she lied?
Nope.
No.
Because I seen on Utica, Utica Police Facebook page a while back. There's a couple people that got arrested for false claims of rape and things like that. And I didn't know what the charge would be if they were to prove it. If they proved that they never did it, it was consent, or
yeah, I mean that would be again filing a false instrument charge, and depending on the severity of it. But again, the ways that they would prove it would be, if the defendant then shows text messages from before and after, right? Like leading up to the hookup or whatever, and then after saying, oh, it was so much fun, or something that would suggest that it was consensual and that the person wasn't upset about it or what have you, that would obviously tend to suggest that it was consensual, that there was no, force. But again, with the age thing, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter
crazy.
at all.
I think that's one of the laws that should be amended a little bit, because you're basically ruining a kid. I mean, you're 17 years old, and like you said, if she's 16, you're 17. In the real world of the scheme of things, that's
And the problem I have around here, and in New York State, with the laws and the way that the criminal procedure is if you're 16, 17, 18, when the crime is committed, you're a youthful offender. And so what that means is you can plead guilty to it. It'll be sealed. Okay, and no one can ever really see it unless you try and get in the military. Then they'll say, well, I need to see that unsealed and see what it was. All right? But you can claim that you don't have a record. You've never been. But the problem is that the DA's offices around here see the age of the person charged, no matter whether it's this type of a case or drugs or assault or whatever, and they think, oh, just he's a YO. Just have him plead to it. It's getting sealed anyways. And I, as a criminal defense attorney, I can't stand that.
No.
Just because he or she is a YO eligible, that it will be sealed, or mandatory YO, that it will be sealed. Why does that mean that they should just plead guilty? You know what I mean? Especially when there may be valid defenses, or that it just, that bothers me. And that's anytime you have, 9 times out of 10, you have someone that's a youthful offender, you'll hear the DA say, oh, he's a YO anyways. Just plead guilty. It'll be sealed. Plead guilty with a fine. It'll be sealed.
Yeah.
It's not like a, end all. It's not like a get out of jail free card.
Right.
I mean, they treat it like it is. And I mean, I understand to some degree it is. But at the same time, it's not just like, oh, well, it's just it's like nothing ever happened. It's not really like nothing ever happened.
They can't open the seal up ever other than the military? Is there a circumstance that they can?
Well, you say they. I mean, like educational background checks, they can't see it. Employment background checks, they can't really see it.
Okay.
Military wants it. They want it unsealed, because I've had people say, well, how do I get it unsealed? I need the military. I'm going into the military or whatever. They want to see what it was, what the charge was. It can show up on your criminal record with courts.
What if you're running for political office?
Oh, definitely.
Somebody will find it,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But yeah, you see that, and that's troubling also, because they just expect well, I don't really care what the defenses are. Just plead. It's a YO anyways. Let's not waste our time. Just plead, and it'll be sealed. It's like, well, wait a minute. This person has a lot going on.
They're not looking at the person. They're just looking at
right.
getting the case
and
out.
Who knows what that person might do with their life? They're 15, 16. They're typically 16, 17, 18 years old.
Right.
You don't know what's in store for them.
Yeah, because you hear stories of people that dated 17 years old, dated somebody who was 16 years old, and then now they're every time they move, their face pops up all over Facebook, and everyone's like, oh, you're
Right.
he's a child molester, and he's like, I dated a girl that was a year younger than me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I've seen it. I don't know. I don't think I've had any of these, but I've seen cases where people are dubbed sex offenders because they were caught urinating like at midnight in a playground.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
At
and the
midnight
way
when there's nobody there.
The way that they can apply the laws and the way they can be charged, yeah. And or if it was on school grounds, on a school playground or whatever, lewd behavior at an elementary school or whatever, you see some of that stuff. It's rare, it's more rare, thankfully, but you can see that stuff depending on how much they want to really get after you.
You brought up the picture on Facebook. I've noticed the UPD hasn't really been doing that lately, right? Or have they?
I mean that
it hasn't
that
been
was,
as much as it used to be.
That
oh my
was,
God, it was like
that
every
was
other
always
post.
trouble waiting to happen, in my opinion.
I thought so too.
I loved the one where they posted a mugshot of an individual, right, and said, so and so was arrested for DWI or whatever at like 11 a.m. and this and that. And there's all these comments. Oh, my God, who gets a DWI at 11 a.m.? Yada, 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 this and that. And then that person posted on his own mugshot and was like, They took me to the precinct. I blew a 0.0, and they released me. I wasn't even charged, so screw all of you.
Right.
Oh, I know that person.
But I mean, come on now. Imagine that
There's
person.
a friend we're talking about now.
But imagine that happened to somebody and their employer saw it and they were fired.
Right.
Exactly.
When they weren't even charged.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, that was always just trouble waiting to happen, and that was a prime example, I think.
Never seen. Yeah, you've seen the charge, but you never seen how it shook out. I mean, it could be a fight at the bar, and like they just grabbed you. You were
Right.
trying to break it up, and then
Right.
realized
Could be completely dismissed.
right.
You know, who knows? You don't know how it all shakes out, but like that, especially that type of thing where it's like
Everybody's so quick to judge.
And there was,
oh my God,
there was
so quick.
Especially on social media.
There was never any follow up. So like, you post this guy's picture, like you said, your employer sees it. Everyone, you're embarrassed in front of your whole community.
Right.
And then nothing ever comes back out and says, our bad. This guy was,
Right. So imagine that the complainant now, the quote unquote victim or whatever, now recants and says, actually, it wasn't that person. I was mistaken. It was this other person. Or I was just really mad at that person and I was drunk and so I made it up to get back at them. Right. They don't ever come back out and say, you know what, we want to inform you that this person was acquitted of all charges. It was found to be false allegations. No, they never did that. And it just hung out there in social media,
And they always get the best picture of you, too. Hair a mess, crying.
Well, you just got popped.
Right.
Yeah, right. You're crying or you're probably hammered or
Something.
whatever. Yeah, you're on something or whatever. Nick, what do you think the percentages of the crime committed in the area is reported in the newspaper and the media?
Oof.
A percentage. I need a number out of you, though.
Reported in terms of like articles with like a headshot or like
reported,
police
like
scanner
out there.
page?
No, not piece. Well, any of that. It could be combined all into one.
I mean, you're going to get more on the scanner
Yeah.
in general, like the page where they have the blotter or whatever.
Then like the OD.
But like actual articles, it's really hit or miss. It depends on what they think is, going to drum up clicks or reads or whatever, to be honest with you. I mean, there's stuff that you see that's really random that they'll have a big article and a mugshot on it. Published all over the internet or wherever their website. And then there's other stuff that you would think would be a lot more newsworthy that never comes up anywhere. You can't even find it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
certain
I feel like
people
that's
in the community charged with certain things, and
Right.
you're like, where? I can't even find a snippet about that published anywhere. But then you got a random person who's charged with, grand larceny,
It'd be like,
and they're all over local media like they just committed the crime of the century.
or it'd be like Anthony Donaldson busted for a gram of weed. It'd be like
it's
owner of Disruption Networks.
There's no real rhyme or reason, I found. It's really kind of what the paper or the person publishing the article thinks is going to be more newsworthy and drum up the most viewership,
Right.
in whatever medium they're posting it or publishing it.
Right.
Really, I mean,
I had a friend of mine who was at the wrong place at the wrong time and got popped, was ever in the house, and he got dragged through the newspaper. And we definitely don't want to get into the names and stuff like that. But
and it was a
you know,
grocery list of stuff that wasn't
You'll
even
see that.
Right, and it was very
Yeah.
unfortunate. And he just happened to show up 5 minutes before, and it was just
And once it was out there, it was out there.
it was out
Right.
there, and
Right.
and just
Yep.
a lot of bad.
Speculation.
It was an unfortunate incident, but that's what it is. People are so quick to judge, especially when you're
Absolutely.
dragging it on social media
I think
and
like
platforms like that.
UPD should take a little responsibility before they post some of that stuff.
Right, but I think it's been less now than it has been
Yeah.
than when they first launched their Facebook page.
right.
Yeah, that was real
Right.
bad for a while.
'Cause it was like every post was like, "Oh, this guy did this and this guy did that and this
Right.
one," and
Oh yeah, it would be every day.
it was every day.
Oh yeah.
Multiple times a day.
Right.
Yeah, like I said, I was doing at that time when they were doing that. I was doing like the overnight arraignments and stuff. So I'd get called in, like, "Oh, we had a bust. You got to come down and arraign these people or whatever." So I go down and do it, and I would tell my wife, "Hey, I just had X, Y, and Z." The next morning, I go on Facebook. "Oh yeah, here's the guys or girls that I just arraigned last night. See, I told you, it was these charges or whatever, all over the UPD Facebook page." So I'm
You had
like,
to show your wife.
I'm like, "Here, see, there you go."
I wasn't out all night. I was actually working.
So it's like, here you go. So it's like, that's what it was. It was like a running joke. Like, "Oh, let me see if I can show you who I arraigned last night." We go to UPD Facebook page.
So that's a 24-hour job.
It was. When I was doing that, I was part-time with the public defender's office. And there was that new rollout, which they still kind of do now, but they've made some adjustments as to how they do it. There had to be a counsel and attorney at the first appearance for everybody. And now they did it in the cities first, Rome and Utica City Court. And so those of us in the public defender's office would rotate like an on-call list. And so we'd get random calls at any time of the night. I mean, 11, 1 a.m., whatever. Okay, we got 5 in holding. We got to get them up to OCJ. You got to come down and arraign these people. Judge is on his way. And we'd go down and do it.
And there's always a judge on call, too?
Yeah, and they would rotate. Now they do it centrally. They call it CAP court, counsel at appearance. But it's everyone in the county is brought, if you're arrested off hours, you're brought to OCJ, held there in a holding cell. And then at, I think it's like 7 p.m., a judge comes in, and they have a little podium now at OCJ, right in like the lobby where you go in for visits, and they'll bring you out and arraign you right there, like 7 to 9 or however long it takes to get everybody done. And they do that like every night. So it's one central location, so they don't have to, because there was always a big debate on how to roll out to all these town and village courts. Like you know, have somebody on call to drive every which way, all hours of the night. And they decided it was best to just, and other counties have done it, more fully and than we had. So we kind of got to watch them do it. So now they do it there. But I'm not involved in that anymore unless I have a client that gets picked up and I got to go up there for it.
That's crazy. I didn't realize it was a 24-hour job like it is.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
Well, somebody's got to. People get arrested all times at night.
That's true. What made you want to become an attorney?
Oh man, I just love to argue.
Yeah. Your Italian nature.
Yeah, I was always good at it. And
I was always good at it.
So it just was, it's fun, So, and I love trials. That's why I do criminal defense and personal injury and stuff, because trial work that just gets me going. You know what I mean? Prepping for a trial and conducting a trial in front of a jury and stuff, making those arguments and cross-examining witnesses unfortunately it doesn't happen as often as I would like.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 3% of all cases make it to trial.
Right.
So
have you had some knockdown, drag-out ones?
Yeah, I mean I've had some good ones. I had a federal trial a couple years ago right here in Utica that I won against the town of Groton, New York. It was actually a First Amendment issue. I was published front page New York Law Journal.
Wait, where's Groton, New York?
It's outside of Cortland.
Oh, okay.
Ithaca area.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, this guy was kind of a kooky old guy, was putting up these like 20 by 10 foot signs that he would hand paint. Cornell is a communist university and all this crazy stuff. And it violated the town signage code. He had too many, square foot of signage on his property. And he owned I think he had like a 500-foot road frontage on one side of his property and like a mile of road frontage on the other side. And he had them spaced out. It wasn't like it was a distraction.
That's a thing? Signage?
Oh, yeah. You're allowed like a 50 square foot of signage.
Is that
on
a
your
countywide
property.
thing?
It's
or?
town by town.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Town by town.
Well, it's because like billboards and stuff, right? Like you can't clutter the roadway, and
Yeah, because they do it for aesthetics and for safety if it's a distraction or whatever.
Okay.
And the town didn't like it because they were saying, the guy said, the town code officer is a communist, and he had he should be in prison. He had all these signs about everybody. So they sued him. They told him he was going to get served, and they tried to take him to the Supreme Court, and he always fought it, refused to take him down, and he sued him federally for free speech.
Mm-hmm.
And he sued him on his own, and the judge called and said, "Look, I'm not going to let this guy can have a trial on his own. Can you just come in and be a trial attorney for this thing?" He's told me, he goes, "You're never going to win it, but it'll be, it's good FaceTime, a good little trial, whatever."
He told you that you're never going to win it?
Yeah, he goes, "You're never going to win it, but he needs a trial attorney. Can you just come and do it?" The judge's law clerk told me this. I said, "Sure. I love a good challenge."
Right.
And
did that get you pumped up when you heard that?
Yeah, I was like, "What the hell? I'll give it a shot anyways. I'm not going to roll over."
Uh-huh.
And I ended up winning it.
That's awesome.
And the guy was like so ecstatic, and the poor guy would like drive up in February from down there in his old truck with no heat, and he'd be like shivering the whole time we were here. I would like walk him over from the federal courthouse after our hearing. I'd be like, "Come on over, just go get a coffee. You could roast and warm up before you drive back, man." Like, it was nuts.
Was he wronged by these people in some way? Is that why he was?
Yeah, I mean, he was taken to court. He was fined. He was taken to Supreme Court, and so he didn't get a lot. Not like we got a whole bunch of money. We got like $1,500. And the guy was reasonable.
Uh-huh.
He's like, "Here's what the damages I want. I used the post office mileage rate. I had to drive up here all these times. I had to do this. I had to do that. And it was because we got the code enforcement officer to admit on the stand that during office hours he called the sheriff from his office phone to tell the sheriff to go out and try and convince him to paint over his signs to limit the content, of his signs. And so that was what happened.
Yeah, the town didn't like that too much.
No. The attorney for the town called me after
Or
we got
the
the
university,
decision.
huh?
The town attorney called me, or the firm that they had used for this litigation called me after we got the decision, and I said, "Hello." She goes, "So how much do you pay my guy to testify for you?" I said, "Yeah, it's a good one, but you probably should have prepared him a little better."
Are the signs still on his lawn right now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He wrote to me maybe 8 months ago. He wanted to sue the Smithsonian.
You're like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have won that.
No,
one.
it's just one. It was crazy because the guy who was the president of Cornell at the time, when that whole thing was going on, had now become like the director of the Smithsonian. Right? And so he was claiming that this guy from Groton was still sending him letters and all this other, which he probably was. But then they claimed that he showed up at the Smithsonian and had to be removed or whatever. So they sent him a ban letter, like you're banned from the 5 buildings of the Smithsonian. Like if you're seen here, you'll be removed or arrested for trespass. And he wrote to me saying, "Look, I'm going to sue them. I've never been to Washington, let alone have gone into the Smithsonian. So, I'd like to see the video, the surveillance, the security footage of me going in." They're claiming if that's what they're using to ban me. They might have something if that's the case, but I didn't.
You don't even want to touch that one.
I'm not touching that one. I'm
Not
not
worth
going
your
after the
aggravation.
Smithsonian. No, I'll let someone else handle that one.
Hey, one guy sues the Smithsonian, the other guy wants to sue Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah,
But it's nice.
Town of Groton's one thing. Smithsonian.
Yeah,
But it's one thing to get banned from a place you've never been to.
Right,
You know?
and that's the thing. And I know I've met the guy. Like I said, he was an old man. He had cancer. He was not well. Like he was not like he's hopping on a plane and going to D.C. very easily. So I don't know whether, I'm not saying there was or wasn't any truth to his story or the Smithsonian's, but it wouldn't surprise me if he wasn't there. It wouldn't surprise me if he was either.
You do get some doozies, huh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I want to talk about too is Caitlin Connolly.
Yeah,
That's been highly publicized in the media. Well, the local media. She's the one charged with poisoning her
I
boss,
believe it
right?
made national attention too.
yeah.
Did it? It made
Dateline,
national attention?
or right 2020 something. like
Yeah,
that.
I believe it did.
Dateline?
Something like that. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, there's that. Did she do it? Did she not do it? There's a lot of wishy-washy
Yeah.
stuff going on
I know
there.
your buddies are representing
lot.
that trial, right?
What do you mean?
And then what? Your friends? Aren't you friends with her? First of all, are all the attorneys in the area? Aren't you guys pretty much friends?
Well, yeah, everybody
For the
knows
most part.
everybody. Everybody knows everybody for the most part. Yeah.
So I mean, your buddy, you're probably your compadre, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, there was 2 different attorneys that represented her in those various trials.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. I got you. But anyways, so she was convicted of poisoning her boss,
Right.
and then she did get convicted for how many?
She was sentenced to 23 years.
23 years. But she's kicking and screaming that she didn't do nothing.
Yeah, they got the appeal pending now, I believe. So we'll see what happens.
And you got her
I
family.
think she's
all
got
over
an
the
attorney
media.
out of Rochester
Okay.
handling that appeal. From what I understand, I don't know.
And what's your opinion on all this?
Oof, I don't know.
You know,
I'm gonna step back on
Yeah,
that
sorry.
because only because if she wins that appeal, that's coming right back to Utica for another trial.
Okay.
So
And you could end up.
there's a possibility of that. So yeah,
Yep. What about the word of life?
Yeah. Thanks,
Yeah.
chicken.
The incidents there. I mean,
yeah. I mean that kind of blew up quick and then fizzled right out because there was nothing.
Like
I
it
mean,
always does.
Right. I mean, there was nothing was really going to happen that was going to be. I mean, it's not like any one of them was going to win and be acquitted of any of that. I mean, they had it was too significant, too severe of crimes that had occurred. You know what I mean? With the death of that young boy. I mean,
Oh, it's horrible.
it was I think out of all of them, it was one bench trial because the person just wouldn't concede to anything, and that law, they lost that. But I mean,
was there jail time to that?
oh yeah, just
Oh yeah,
about
they all got
everybody
jail time. Except for one, right? I think one maybe
yeah,
got some probation
yeah,
out
I think
of it.
so.
Now, what happened to that building? Now, is that building taken away from them? Is that
I don't think that they could go that far because if it's owned by like a religious corporation, I guess it would be considered. They could seize it, I guess, potentially, depending on
because a crime committed there, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. If there was a murder committed in your house, the police aren't going to come and seize your house.
True.
You know
But
what I
if
mean?
it
And say
was like-
sorry, not sorry. Your
But
house
if
is ours now.
But
They
if I was
they're
doing
not
like
gonna do that.
satanic rituals at my house, and
It's still your house.
Oh.
You know, if you got kids, it's they're still in line for that potentially if you were to pass away or whatever. So it's not, they can't just strip you of your property rights because you've committed a crime. You know, people that go to jail for all sorts of heinous things, they don't just take their property. I mean, they might ultimately lose their property if they're not paying for it and not paying the taxes on it or whatever if they're incarcerated. But yeah, you're not going to have somebody come in and take your property for a crime because of a crime. And again, it wasn't really the religious corporation that was convicted. It was all these individuals obviously acting within their belief system or what they were told to believe or whatever. But yeah, I don't know what's happening with that building. But that's a kind of a good question. As to even if they were to sell it, who gets that money?
right.
You know.
Did they evict them though? I think that building's empty.
Well, yeah, if they were like renting it, then yeah, that's a simple answer. Then they were just evicted, and the landlord can go about doing whatever they
'Cause it
want
was an
with
old
that
school,
building.
right?
It
Right.
Was, it was an old school,
Yep.
yeah, right in
Yep.
the middle of Sequoia, and there was some weird shit going on.
Yeah.
there. The poor kid was killed, and then the other one, I wonder whatever happened to him, how he ended up making out for getting
He had, like
the shit beat out of him.
lacerations on his
Oh, it's
balls and
terrible.
stuff.
Yeah, but the backstory, I guess they were touching the little girls or something, right? Supposedly.
I don't know.
I
Yeah,
heard
that's- yeah,
multiple
that they were-
stories.
there was something going on,
There was some kind of
and they were
sexual-
trying to beat them into confessing what had happened or what they had done or something.
See, initially I heard that they were trying to leave the religious group. They were trying to leave, and then they got that. Then I heard this other story come out about the young girls and stuff. So I don't know. I never found out which one was true.
Mm-hmm.
What was the real case?
Right.
That's a lie. Ray's saying that's a lie. If anybody knows about the whole Sequoia area, it's her. We need to know what's a lie out there. But the lie of they were touching the kids, I'm thinking maybe that could be the lie. I don't know. I have no idea.
That's what I'm saying. I heard
that
both.
was a touchy case.
I heard two
It really
different
was.
stories.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
They admitted to touching the girls so they would stop beating them. I gotcha.
Right,
That's
right.
what
But I
she's
guess,
saying.
yeah, we're not saying that they did that. We're just saying that was what I think they were accused of doing.
Right.
Which was what started the whole attack.
Beating,
and
yeah.
Right.
That should be a movie one day.
They were not touching the girls.
They were not touching girls. Okay, thank
Right.
you, Ray, for clarifying that. She's well versed in the Word of Life case. Well, it was her neighbors. She was right there.
Oh, really?
For all that, yeah, she lived right in that neighborhood. And,
Yeah, so.
a lot of my friends from Sequoia were like, "What the hell?" I remember that day. I was like, something's going on here. I don't know what's going on."
It's
in there."
Sequoia, for people outside of the New York, area, it's a small,
5,000 population community, if
Yeah.
that.
So everybody knows each other, and it's something like that happened right under your nose. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but it happens. There are a lot of weirdos in this world, in this country, this area.
All over.
All over.
Can't hide from them.
I mean, exactly. Especially in Utica, man. I feel like there's a
Can't
different
hide.
kook every day. But look who's sitting on the couch. Pileggi, speaking of kooks. It was bad, Ray. It was a bad situation when we're making fun of the situation a little bit. But, we're just having normal conversation here on EC Radio. We're with Nick Passalacqua, Attorney Nick Passalacqua. If you need legal help quick, you better call Nick, 315-500-NICK. The phone's on 24 hours a day, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You'll get a live answer 24/7.
All the time.
All the time. We never sleep.
You never sleep. You will
That's right.
answer your phone at 3 a.m.
That's right.
I'm sure you
We're
have
gonna
had a
test
few of
this.
them. Well, he specializes in DWI, so I'm
Yes.
sure that phone rings
Yep.
a lot.
Criminal DWI and personal injuries. Passalacqua and Associates.
Which coming up on St. Patty's Day.
Yep.
Definitely want to get out there and let people know, some of the DWI laws and what they should look for. And
Yeah, absolutely.
First of all, don't
do
drink
it.
and drive.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't do it. Call
Don't do
cab.
it, number
call
one.
Uber.
Especially now we got Uber. There's absolutely no excuse.
CNY cabs.
But undoubtedly it'll happen. I mean, that's the one thing people would say, oh, you condone that. No, I don't condone it. Just because I represent
Right.
people that are charged with DWI doesn't mean I'm, advocating for people to do that.
You represent people who do murder. Doesn't mean
Right.
you're,
Exactly. The fact is that it's going to happen, unfortunately. But and they've got to know their rights, and they've got to be protected so that they're not taken advantage of if there's issues with their arrest or their charge, or if they should have never been charged in the first place. But that being said, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen this weekend, no doubt. There's going to be DWI arrests made.
Yeah.
I mean, if you unfortunately find yourself in that situation, call me.
315-500-NICK.
That's your best bet. That's the first thing you should do. One thing I think that people don't understand is that you don't have to do any of the field sobriety tests. I always say this on all the interviews I do, and people are always surprised by it. But you don't have to do any of the field sobriety tests.
And that's not an automatic admittance of guilt?
No. And it's not there's not so much as a traffic ticket that they can give you for refusing to do them. If you refuse to blow in the roadside PBT, preliminary breath test, they can give you a ticket for that. But if you don't do the walk a straight line, you don't do the alphabet, you don't do the one-legged stand, you don't do the follow my pen thing, they cannot give you so much as a traffic ticket. If they've pulled you out of your car and they're asking you to do those things, odds are they're going to arrest you anyways. Those tests are not meant for you to pass, regardless.
That happened to me. I drove back from Syracuse one day, and I got pulled over, and the police officer pulled me out of the car. Somebody spilled a beer on me, so that's what he smelled. And he made me do those sobriety tests, and he faced me, pointing me right at the car.
Right.
With the lights flashing, like anybody's going to get disoriented. So I made sure I turned my back to and I did the whole sobriety thing, and I passed it all, but then he still gave me the breathalyzer. And
right, which
I obviously
technically
passed that
speaking,
too.
if you passed it, there should be no reason for him to give you a breathalyzer because he has no probable cause to believe that you're under the influence or have alcohol in your system.
Right. So when I passed it and nothing
The
showed up.
the preliminary breath test should be given after you fail the field sobriety test.
That's what I thought,
as
too.
another step, because now he has probable. They do that so that he has probable cause to believe that you're under the influence. Then he gives you the PBT as a result of that. Okay, if you get out of the vehicle, you pass every one of his or her field sobriety tests that they administer to you. Okay, you should be free to go. I mean, they're always 100% of the time going to ask you to take a roadside PBT if they've given you a field sobriety test, whether you pass them or not, because you might have passed them all. Mm-hmm. And then you blow into that and you show any indication of alcohol, now they have probable cause to arrest you, to believe that you've been driving under the influence, even if it says 0.01. Because those numbers aren't admissible in court anyways, the preliminary breath test numbers.
Oh, really?
Only the one at the station.
What about if you have medication you're taking, and say you had an emergency and you just had a surgery, and you had to pop a couple of hydros or something, and then there was an emergency that you had to go. You get pulled over, and
again,
you're under the influence.
Yeah, that's going to be in a situation where they're going to have to do a DRE.
Where they call in the expert.
Yeah, they're going to have to evaluate you. They're going to have to fill out all that paperwork, and they're going to have to narrow it down unless you admit to them what you're on. They're going to have to narrow it down to exactly what they believe you're under the influence of.
Now, is there a DRE expert on hand 24 hours a day?
There's supposed to be. So, some police forces have one on hand. Some don't, and they'll call it in the sheriff if the sheriffs have one on, or the troopers if they're going to do it. Police don't really like doing DWIs, like writing up DWIs. It's hours of paperwork for them.
Right.
So adding onto that a DRE with that paperwork, that's why, like I said, the last 5, 6 I've had of them, there's just no DRE paperwork at all. They charge them, and with a 11924 and let it go,
and
then
they
see
just
what
throw
happens.
it away.
Yeah,
it gets thrown out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you don't have to do the field sobriety test. If they ask you to blow and you refuse that at the roadside, they can give you a ticket for it. Your license can't be suspended for that, for refusing that. If you go back to the precinct and you refuse there, you can lose your license for a year administratively through the DMV, regardless of the outcome of your DWI, if you're charged or if it's dismissed or anything. It's still just an administrative thing through the DMV. Public policies, they want people to give the breath samples. So if you refuse it, they administratively say, well, then we're taking away your driving privileges for a year. The thing I tell people is if you absolutely know that you're screwed, you get pulled over and oh, my God, I'm hammered or whatever. Yeah. If you want the best chance of getting out of it without a criminal record, say as little as possible, okay, so they can't say you had slurred speech. Refuse to do the field sobriety test Okay, refuse to do the breath test. You're going to lose your license, or you're going to get arrested anyways. They're
Right.
going to arrest you. They're going to take you down to the precinct. They're going to ask you to do a formal breath test. Refuse it. The easiest DWI for me to win at a trial is one where they have no BAC and they have no observations. What is a cop going to say? Oh, he had glassy eyes and I smelled alcohol. With nothing more, is any jury in the world going to say, I believe beyond a reasonable doubt that that person had a BAC over a .08
Right.
or that they were intoxicated? I can't imagine that anyone would. And even if there's a video, you've not done any, unless you get out of the car and you fall over.
Now, most cop cars have video cameras now, right?
State troopers refuse to put them in, so
Really?
you won't have any video with a state trooper.
Uh-huh.
Why did they refuse to put them in?
Because of that. They don't want. There's a lot more expense statewide if you had to equip every trooper vehicle with it than like municipalities typically.
True.
And along with the maintenance and everything else of those. But don't get me wrong. I believe there's some part of it that they don't want to have everything they do watched and scrutinized. So UPD has them. Rome PD has them. Sheriffs, it depends on the car. It depends on but
Every UPD car has them,
they should.
for the most part.
They should.
Yeah.
Yep. And now they have all the body cams too.
Uh-huh.
Every officer in the field should be wearing a body cam for the UPD. So you have that.
Which is good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I absolutely, because you know what? If they've done something, then great. We should all know that they did it.
Right, exactly.
Because here's the thing. I'm not here to get people, acquitted of things if they're completely guilty. I mean, do I do that? Yeah. I mean, that's part of my job.
It's your job, right.
If they don't have what they need or they can't prove what they're attempting to prove, that's the system we have set up. You can't just go around and convicting people because of accusations. So that's my job, is just to make sure that the system works. That you're proving what you need to prove. If you can prove it, great. More power to you. Then the guy or girl is guilty. Okay. But as a juror, if I was sitting on a jury, it would be so much more helpful for me if I had a video of the person doing what you're saying they did versus me having to determine who to believe or not. That's a whole lot more of a coin toss, no matter who's testifying, versus watching on a screen the person do what is being alleged or not doing it. I mean, I've had, trials where I've won an acquittal because they claim that this guy punched this girl in the face. And it happened right here. No question. It happened right here on this part of the sidewalk. And I got the surveillance video and rolled it for the jury. Said, you show me where it looks like anybody swung at anybody or where anybody scattered as if someone just got hit, with a punch. Nothing ever happened. And the jury was like, okay, there's nothing happening here. He's accused of doing something that never shows up on the video of the exact place that they're saying it happened at the exact time they're saying it happened. Perfect. Easy. Easy for the jury. If it showed a commotion and a scuffle and police showing up, then they probably said, you know what, we can't see exactly what happened, but if they're telling me that's what happened at that exact moment, at that exact location, and it looks like that's kind of what could have happened there, probably that he did it. That didn't happen there. So I'm all for the video evidence. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It saved our butt a couple times at the bar. Having surveillance there and
sure.
people accusing us of like throwing them downstairs and things like that, and then we just roll the tape and never happened.
Yeah.
So I see it can help the police officers as well.
Do all the cop cars have the license plate readers too?
No, I don't think so. They all have the computers in them that they can run them through their RMS or through their
right. But I'm talking the
system.
actual readers, like where they sit there and they read license plates.
No, typically those are the ones you'll see on the trunk that are mounted at an angle.
Okay.
So they'll read it as they're driving.
Forge has one.
You'll see them. They're mounted on their trunk. They almost look like radar detector guns, like on the sides of their trunk, facing out. Those are typically where you'll see them because then like I said, they can track it as they're driving. So they drive by you and they got it without even looking.
How accurate are the radar detectors?
Yeah, I mean, those don't get questioned as much as like you might with a BAC if it's been calibrated or with temperature, if the temperature was right with the sample and all this other stuff, because it's speeding. I mean, it's not a huge deal. And unless you got a horrible record, they're going to usually reduce them for you to something manageable. So those don't get challenged a whole lot. But at the same time, I mean, there's more sophisticated technology coming out all the time. I just had somebody come in with a traffic ticket. They raced up behind a trooper, and the trooper swung around, and they had radar on at all angles, and they tagged him with a radar gun while he was driving. The person came up behind him.
Wow.
And he pulled over, and it was even in the statement that he said to him, "Do you know how fast you were going coming up behind me, like, or driving behind me or something like that?" Yeah, they can do it. Yeah.
Is it legal to have a radar detector in your car?
I mean, I don't know that it's illegal. I don't think that
Wasn't it illegal at one time?
Yeah, I mean.
Well, certain states, I know, like Virginia is dead against them. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken with cops, and they're like, I don't even care if they have them. I love them because they're like, I'll put my radar gun on or detector on in the car. I'll run in and get a coffee, and everyone with one is getting buzzed, and so they're slowing down while I'm inside getting my coffee. You know, they're like.
So it works.
You know, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like they're deterred from speeding. You know, without me pulling them over. So like, I've talked to a bunch of cops. They're like, I'm all for them because, you know. Like, yeah, people think it allows them to speed in between cops or whatever, but at the same time, it slows them down a lot, too.
Well, now you see, like, some of these cop cars set up at, like, certain intersections where there's nobody inside, you know, just for that. You know, kicks off the radar detector and they slow down.
Right.
You know, go into construction zones and stuff like that.
Before we get out here, we got to remind everybody we're going to be hanging out at O'Donnell's on Saturday for our big St. Patrick's Day extravaganza, the St. Patty's Day spectacle that the D normally puts on. This is our second annual, and I want to thank Nick for joining on board, helping us out, being our sponsor over there. We're going to be passing out a bunch of
wristbands.
And the wristbands are going to be passed out amongst the participants that come into the bar, the patrons, I should say, the patrons, and then also we've got cards and stuff like that. We got some pamphlets that we're going to be passing out, knowing your rights. And if you do need help, legal help, you call Nick, 315-500-NICK, N-I-C-K, or cnytrialslaw.com, right?
Yep, cnytriallaw.com is us. Yep. And again, 24 hours a day, 315-500-6425.
So that spells out Nick.
Hopefully they won't need to call you, but if they do, they should call you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Nick, this has been great, man. We got to do this more often. I'd like to
sure.
have you come on and talk about, you know, our legal rights in many different realms. And, you know, the news cycle is constant.
Sure.
So there's always crazy news going on. And
always something.
And we always need some legal advice. So
yeah, we definitely do.
I'm happy to give it. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, guys.
We do always need some legal advice. So, and we want to see everybody out at St. Patty's Day over at O'Donnell's. It's 715 Varick Street. Come down, come hang out. My old stomping grounds down there on Varick Street. We're going to be hanging out on the deck. There's going to be live music from DJ Smaktino and DJ Derek J. Yes, Derek J. Sorry.
And then we got our boy over at Lucan's too.
Yeah, we got all of
We're disrupting Varick Street, baby.
We're disrupting Varick Street. We got Varick Street covered.
Ease
that's
one.
for sure.
Ease one's over at Lucan's
DJ
too. So.
East One will be over at Lucan's, and we'll be out there. We've got stickers and T-shirts and stuff to pass out. We're going to be doing games.
It's a D party, baby.
It's a D party. We're going to get all green at O'Donnell's, 715 Varick Street. So come on down and hang out with us. It's going to be a great old time. We're going to be doing live Facebooks and are doing live shows from there and showing you the debauchery that Varick Street brings.
Speaking of
every
Ease
year.
One,
yeah,
they're going on tonight, right?
Today is Tuesday.
Yep.
So Tuesday is Ease Beats and Bizz, and also Sean Raz in the first 52 will
Ease
be on
Beats and
it.
what?
Bizz.
Ease Beats and what?
Actually, Bizz ain't even in the house today. He's on vacation.
You didn't do the?
I didn't do it. He's on vacation, so he's not even going to be around.
Oh, he gets a vacation?
He gets a vacation. So it's just going to be
Ease and
Beats.
Ease
Just
and Beats?
Ease and Beats. I don't know what they got going on, but you can tune into Ease Beats and Bizz at 8 o'clock. And don't forget about Sean Raz in the first 52 here on the D. And you can listen to this podcast and previous podcasts of all the great content on DisruptionNetwork.net. Thank you so much for listening. Tomorrow, what do we got tomorrow? Tomorrow, Jetstream Trampoline.
Oh, yeah.
Or Trampoline Jetstream. I don't know. We're going to talk to the formerly known as Glen Street, and we're going to talk about the name change and stuff like that, and they're going to perform for us as well.
I'm also doing the Baseline tomorrow at 9 o'clock.
Baseline tomorrow night, which is our baseball podcast that we have here on Disruption Network. That's going to be cool, man. And I want to mention on Sunday we're doing our live baseball draft through the Baseline on Sunday for the Electric Company 15th annual fantasy baseball draft. 15 years we've been doing that fantasy league. We got problems. We're a bunch of nerds. That's what happens. We're a bunch of nerds. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow.
You know what the hell you're listening to?
It's EC Radio.
Never you mind what I'm making. You should spend some time taking a personal inventory of what you're doing for the betterment of society.
Hey, it's Adeline Van Dyke from Coldwell Banker Faith Properties in Utica. I always get asked, why do I love real estate? It's very simple. I love my clients. I love every single thing about helping them find or sell their home. Making sure the home is solid and ready for sale or solid and ready for the buyer's inspection, to making sure that they're getting the best rate on their mortgage, making sure they're getting the best price on their house. You know, just everything involved in the sale is vital. My absolute favorite part of real estate is when a buyer walks into the house they're going to buy. I can feel it before they even know they're loving the house. It's just that obvious. So I'd love to experience that feeling with you. So give me a call. Adeline Van Dyke, Coldwell Banker Faith Properties, 315-404-6431. Or you can find me on Facebook or visit my website at centralnewyork.com/Adeline. Thank you, and I look forward to welcoming you home.
When it's your hard-earned money on the line that you are investing into a home, it makes sense to choose a proven professional to assist you in making one of the biggest investments you may ever make. Josh's dedication of over 20 years to the home construction industry allows him to bring knowledge and experience to your doorstep. That means you can feel confident and comfortable with his service to you. Past clients love his attention to detail and thorough written reports. By allowing Priceless Inspections to help you make a well-informed decision concerning your property, you will find that a quality inspection is priceless. Follow Priceless Inspections on Facebook or call 315-525-8725. In the Mohawk Valley, for the best real estate service, you gotta have faith. Coldwell Banker Faith Properties, 315-735-2222 or www.centralnyhomes.com.